As they stepped through the hall of mirrors, the world around them bent, blurred, and shattered like glass shifting in slow motion. Then, as if exhaling, it settled. And they found themselves in a landscape unlike any they had ever known. The air was still and dry. Hills of ochre and rust undulated gently across the horizon, their curves like waves frozen mid-surge. The earth beneath their feet was cracked and brittle in some places, soft and dusted like powdered sugar in others. A warm, honey-hued sand stretched in every direction, and the subtle rustling of its grains was the only sound that broke the silence. Clusters of jagged rock pierced the terrain like old bones pushing through skin, their textures rough and ancient, contrasting with the smoothness of the rolling dunes. Before them stretched a winding path of translucent stones, each one catching the light with a faint, crystalline shimmer. Far in the distance, a grove of reddish trees emerged, silent, surreal, and bathed in a soft, otherworldly glow. Sebastian stepped forward first. Adrian followed a breath behind. They didn't speak, not yet. The hush of the world demanded silence, and they obeyed. They didn't know what to do, but they knew they would soon find out. There was no need to say it aloud. A single glance between them was enough to understand. So they began to walk, steady, resolute, prepared to face whatever awaited them. But as they moved along the path, something shifted between them. The weight of the mission, the ache of Dane's absence, settled in like dust on their shoulders. They had walked nearly 1 hour when the quiet finally broke. Adrian wondered, what if they're both wrong? What if this isn't about choosing between Numens and Laptis, between order and grace, but about rejecting the very idea that anyone should wield this kind of power? What if no one should hold it at all? The silence that followed stretched too long. Sebastian shook his head. "I don't know anymore," he said, his tone softer than usual. "Honestly, I'm not sure of anything right now. What do you feel? Deep down, in your heart?" Adrian shifted his weight, one hand curling unconsciously into a fist. His voice was calm, but there was something steady in it now, something resolved. "Let's go for the thread," he said. "Maybe the answer's waiting for us." They walked a little longer in silence, the crystalline path crunching softly beneath their feet. Somewhere in the distance, a sound stirred, a rustle that wasn't sand. Something was coming. "The trees weren't as close as they looked," Adrian said suddenly, breaking the quiet. Sebastian glanced over, then nodded. "No? They must be massive. That's why we saw them from so far away." Adrian shifted his weight, then froze mid-motion. He glanced behind them, then scanned both sides. "What is it?" Sebastian asked, his tone sharpening. Adrian's brow furrowed. "I don't know. I've had this feeling since we crossed into this place, like something's behind us." Sebastian turned, scanning the undulating landscape. Nothing moved, nothing stirred. The sand lay untouched, their footprints the only scars across the glowing trail. "I don't see anything," Sebastian said carefully. "But, yeah, let's stay sharp." He rested his right arm across Adrian's back, half protection, half reassurance. Together, they pressed on. The trees grew taller with each step. From a distance, they had seemed large. Now they were monoliths, some easily the height of 30-story towers, their tops vanishing into the reddish haze above. Even so, Adrian and Sebastian didn't stop. They kept moving, eyes lifted, hearts beating in tandem with the rhythm of the stones beneath their feet. When they reached the edge of the forest, the trees stood in perfect patterns, as if planted by a divine hand. The entrance loomed like a gateway. Adrian and Sebastian exchanged a glance. No words, just a shared pulse of resolve. Inside, the air shifted. The trunks were massive, gnarled like ancient roots turned skyward. The leaves shimmered in deep reds and earthy browns, and on many strange shapes appeared, etched or perhaps grown into the surface itself. Some looked vaguely humanoid, others grotesque, like nightmares half remembered. Faces without mouths, limbs that curled in impossible spirals. The silence was suffocating. Only the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional creak of heavy branches accompanied their steps. But even in the strangeness, the transparent path remained, a ribbon of certainty winding through the unfamiliar. Adrian stopped. "I don't want to freak you out," he whispered. but I'm almost certain something's behind us. Sebastian halted beside him. Yeah, he said after a beat. I heard something too. Just now. Footsteps, or branches. I couldn't tell. They turned back to back, scanning the shifting shadows. Nothing. And yet, the forest felt full. Something unseen was drawing closer. Suddenly, Sebastian stopped mid-stride and turned sharply. Wait, he whispered, raising a hand. Adrian followed his gaze. Something was off. A tangle of reddish leaves halfway up the trunk shimmered with the wrong texture. Thicker, too dense. There, Sebastian murmured. Adrian narrowed his eyes. The patch twitched. He reached out instinctively. With a subtle flick of his hand, his telekinetic force snapped a low-hanging branch from the tree. The instant it cracked, something massive dropped from the canopy with a thunderous roar. The creature hit the forest floor in a blur of fur and muscle. It was hulking, half human, half something else. For a breathless moment, neither boy moved. "Run!" Sebastian shouted. They sprinted. The path twisted like a thread through the trees. But the creature thundered after them, each step a quake of sound and force. It was faster, far faster. "We won't outrun it," Adrian shouted over the pounding of their feet. Without stopping, he extended one hand behind him. Branches cracked and tore free from the trees, hurled through the air by bursts of kinetic force. The first struck the creature in the shoulder. It snarled but didn't slow. A second branch shattered against its ribs. The third slammed into its legs, tangling briefly in the creature's stride. It stumbled, just long enough. Adrian turned and flung a cluster of branches directly into its path, sending the beast crashing into a thicket with a frustrated roar. They kept running until their legs burned and their lungs screamed for air. Only when the forest quieted behind them, when no crashing steps or echoing growls followed, did they dare to stop. Bent over, gasping, they stumbled forward at a walk. Sweat clung to their backs. Adrian wiped his brow, still listening for any sign of the creature. "What the hell was that?" Sebastian asked between breaths. "It looked like a bear, but more agile." Adrian shook his head. "I don't know, but it could be one of the protectors of the thread. Newman said we'd face guardians." Sebastian let out a breath. "Then we just made it through our first one." There was a moment of heavy silence between them. Then Sebastian turned to Adrian, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "You were amazing back there. I didn't know you could throw branches like that. Have you ever tested how far your power can go?" Adrian hesitated. "Not really. I've moved heavy stuff before, but nothing alive, nothing dangerous. We need to understand what your powers are truly capable of, so we'll know exactly what you can do when it counts," Sebastian said, nodding before pointing to a tree up ahead. Thick, gnarled, and easily 20 meters tall. "Let's find out. Try moving that one." Adrian's gaze settled on the tree, and for the first time, he wondered what he might truly be capable of. Adrian closed his eyes and focused, clenching his fist as he reached out with his kinetic force. The air around him trembled faintly, but the tree barely responded. Just a low vibration through its trunk, like the rumble of a distant storm. Sebastian stepped closer, thoughtful. "Let's try something different," he said. "Let me push you, not physically, mentally. Maybe we can do more if we combine our powers." Adrian arched a brow, skeptical. "You want to get inside my head?" "Just enough to give you a boost," Sebastian replied, half grinning. "Trust me." After a moment's hesitation, Adrian gave a reluctant nod. They focused. Adrian squared his stance. Sebastian narrowed his gaze. Then, something shifted. Power surged between them. The tree groaned. Soil cracked. With surprising fluidity, the massive trunk lifted from the ground, its roots shedding dirt like water from a blade. Suspended in perfect balance, the tree hovered mid-air for several seconds, then slowly lowered back into the earth, settling without a sound. They stepped back, breathing hard. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian let out a low breath. That was unreal. Sebastian's eyes gleamed. "I didn't expect it to be that easy." "I wasn't overwhelmed," Adrian said, rubbing the back of his neck. "It wasn't like I lost control. It was more like, when you looked at me, something just clicked. I felt calm. Then I heard your voice, your actual voice, giving me instructions, telling me how to do it." Sebastian blinked. "I never said anything," Not out loud, at least. I just kind of thought it. Told you to lift it. No details, no steps. It's like I give you the urge, and your mind fills in the rest, he added, almost to himself. Adrian stared at him. Well, it worked. But don't go thinking you can make me do anything you want. Sebastian smirked. So, you can't resist me? I said I let you, Adrian shot back. I can ignore you anytime I want. Sebastian folded his arms. Prove it. He turned toward the tree again and gave a sharp mental push. Lift the tree, he said aloud, voice calm but commanding. Adrian fixed his gaze on the tree, arms crossed. It's not going to happen, he murmured with a defiant smile. Nothing moved. Sebastian narrowed his eyes. Lift it. Still nothing. Adrian smirked. You can't control me, he said. I'm not your puppet. Then, without warning, the tree shuddered violently, as if some force had broken loose beneath it. It tore free of the ground again, this time rising faster, higher, 2 full meters into the air, trembling as if caught in a storm. Sebastian stepped back, impressed and a little uneasy. The tree hovered a moment longer, then slammed down, sending a tremor through the earth. Sebastian's smile faded into something more thoughtful. Fair enough, he said. Stop it, Adrian, Sebastian shouted, his voice sharp with alarm. I can't, Adrian yelled back, panic breaking through his usual calm. It's not me. I'm not controlling it. The massive tree began to thrash as if seized by a storm only it could feel. Its trunk swayed violently, then spun, uprooting itself and crashing into nearby trees like a wrecking ball. The forest groaned under the pressure. Branches cracked, trunks snapped, and dirt erupted into the air as the colossal force tore through the grove like a cyclone. Get back! Sebastian cried, but it was too late. The storm of branches surged around them. Wood slammed into their bodies like cannon fire. One massive trunk struck the ground between them, and everything went black. Adrian was the first to wake, coughing through the dust and piney scent of splintered wood. His right arm was pinned beneath a thick branch, numb and motionless. His legs were free, but the twisted web of branches above him made movement impossible. Sebastian, he croaked. I'm here, came the weak reply. I can't move my leg. I think it's broken. And the branches, God, they're heavy. I'm completely stuck. Are you okay? Adrian swallowed hard. My arm's pinned. Feels broken. I can't feel much else. Try using your power, Sebastian said. Can you move the branches with your mind? Adrian gritted his teeth and focused. The air shimmered faintly, but the branches didn't budge. I'm too drained, he gasped. Maybe you could push me into it, like before. I can't see you, Sebastian replied, frustration in his voice. I need a line of sight. I can't reach you without it. Adrian let out a slow breath. Okay, then let's not panic. We need to think. They both went quiet for a while. Sebastian grunted, trying to push a smaller branch off his hand, but it didn't give. Adrian remained still, staring up at the small patch of sky between the leaves. I want to say something, Adrian said softly, in case we don't get out. Sebastian didn't speak. He listened. I'm sorry if I ever hurt you. That was never what I wanted. I know we've only known each other for a year. But even before this, before the war, before the Elysium, I already saw you and Dane as my best friends. I just need you to know I'm proud of us, of what we've tried to do. I'm grateful to be your friend. There was a pause. Then Sebastian's voice, hoarse but steady. Don't say that like it's the end. Adrian smiled faintly, eyes still on the sky. It's not, he said. It's just something I should have said sooner. For a moment, there was nothing but the whisper of leaves above them. The forest, for all its earlier violence, had gone still again. Then Sebastian exhaled. I'm glad it was you here with me, not alone. Emotion tightened his throat. We'll get out. You, me, Dane. We'll find a way. Adrian closed his eyes. I believe you. I apologize too, Adrian, Sebastian said, voice rough with emotion. I take full responsibility for our argument. Sometimes my pride gets the better of me, and I lose sight of what really matters. But I need you to know, I love you. I'm grateful for our friendship. Along with my parents and Dane, you're the most important people in my life. For a moment, silence settled between them, heavy, but no longer cold. Then Adrian's voice dropped to a whisper. I think something's coming. I just heard branches snapping.